and there are now 20 million people who do not have access to affordable and appropriate credit in the UK. We we have been lending to people who are in work. We lend to people typically in the 4 or 5 deciles of income in the UK. These are people who are typically taking home between £1,500 net a month and sort of 2,200 at near the top end. Um, why is it important? It's really important because a lot of these individuals have got impaired credit scores, and they are unable to access mainstream credit products through their banks. All of the customers that come to us recognize that they have a poor credit score, and credit scores take an incredible amount of time to change. Um, the numbers of people that are applying to us, a year ago it was about 3,000 people a day. Now it's nearer 4 to 4,500 people a day. And with the lens of open banking that we use solely to make those lending decisions, we can see a lot of problems within the financial lives of those individuals. Now, I have to say, our accept rate is very low. We're accepting around about 5 to 7% of people because the people that we can't lend to have not enough disposable income to take on a further commitment. They are over indebted. A lot of those individuals we see have got just very little disposable income. So Salad's mission is as much to be able to lend to individuals, but also to be able to help those individuals through signposting to people like step change, debt charity advice, gambling advice, but also with the new creation of our Pickle app, which you can download on the App Store, we actually tell consumers where they're spending too much or why they are being failed. And we see that as a part of the mission of Salad. I think it's really important that we surface what we see in the data of the applicants and also the consumers. And I think a lot of people find it very difficult to understand that within a week of being paid, a lot of our consumers don't have access to a couple of £100 that is potentially the difference between them being able to service an emergency that comes up. I think one of the things that I'm acutely aware of is our consumers are very financially savvy. They are juggling the money that they have coming into their bank accounts and then the liabilities that they have to settle. And one of the things that I've always said is we spot the customers who are able to spend to their means and not beyond their means. And that's the lens that open banking gives us. But I don't think people are aware of the financial stresses that are being suffered by the people in lower income levels. And that's part of what we have done is bring that to light. A lot of our consumers have a damaged or impaired credit score because they've missed some payments on some bills that have subsequently been reported. 28% of our consumers have had a county court judgment in the last couple of years. And just focusing in on county court judgments, I mean, it takes about 18 months from a default process for a county court judgment to be effected against a consumer's credit record, and that stays with them for 6 years. And that is an absolute no-no for the majority of prime and near prime lenders in the UK. And out of the 5.4 million county court judgments in the UK, 3.4 million of those are for less than £1,000. So a mistake that was made historically at a point of financial stress in the lives of our applicants stays with them for almost 6 years, which I think is desperately unfair. And in fact, we do take into account the fact someone may have a CCJ, but the majority of the CCJs are for very small amounts and with a very historic back end.
So all the net proceeds from those past offers are used directly for lending. Now, I use the present tense there deliberately because the money is continually recycled over the 5-year terms. Um, so with an average loan size of, let's say, £1,000, those proceeds will have initially funded 2,500 loans. Because all our loans are monthly amortizing loans, the money comes back very quickly, and we're able to re-lend the capital. Um, this recycling effect is further amplified by the fact that we have a committed £100 million senior debt line in place, which essentially finances the loans that have been originated using the FX capital. So over the course of this 5-year term, we're able to lend many millions of pounds in the sort of snowballing effect from the initial capital that we've raised. And this speaks to the fact that this money is incredibly valuable to Salad and is able to have a huge impact on the customers that we serve. Although FX bonds only form a small part of our capital stack, they play a really crucial role. It's catalytic capital. It enables us to unlock and utilize our senior debt facility, which ultimately allows us to lend a lot more money. So for that reason, we need to ensure that the bonds are attractive for our FX investors, and we're mindful that they're motivated by social impact as well as financial return. Ultimately, the more money we raise, the more money we can lend and the more people we can support and the more positive impact that we can have. So the rate is set with that objective in mind. If we were to raise this type of capital from purely commercial lenders, it would be significantly more expensive as well.
We are able to see what consumers are spending our loan on. And that's really interesting data. And we're just starting that journey. And that's going to be very interesting. We don't believe that consumers are spending this money on frivolous purchases. We see it in the early stages of the research that we've done that they're using it to pay for emergencies that would come up. It's not broken boilers because, as I say, 80% of them are in rented accommodation, and that's typically the landlord's responsibility. It's for bills, expenses, and emergencies, which a lot of people are facing. Our customers lack resilience. That's the real problem. And that resilience is the point at which they need to come to Salad to borrow small amounts of money uh, to deal with that need in the moment. Again,